All right, everybody, we're back with some week previews. I feel like it has been forever since we have done these. So we're gonna kick right off. We're gonna go right into week one, and the first matchup, I believe, it was Matt's first game. So the True North and versus Bills Mafia. Yeah, True North is 62-45, which is just to be honest, it's such a great record for 9 years for being in the league for I think 9 years, 8 years, something like that. So yeah, that's definitely a good record. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think anybody thinks that True North going to lose this one. But I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way that True North loses this one either, unless absolute disaster happened and some of his starters went out like after the first play or the first snap. Looking at the two teams, True North's rise this year is coming down to his pair of wide receiver aces, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Kupp. And obviously, he's going to be relying on these two guys every week to get him some big points, and I think they will. And I think I'm definitely picking True North to win this one, and I'm sure you are as well.
That is correct. Next up, we have Sabatica Spartans versus Rojino. Sabatica Spartans is 22-18, looking versus Rojino, who's 27-13. So what is that, about a five win difference between the two teams? I will say they came in the same year. Suhino, I give shit every year, and every year he proves me wrong. So, I won't talk too much shit on him, but I honestly am not a huge fan of his team. His biggest weakness in my eyes is the running back room. James Robinson, he might be injured. Hubbard, he might be, he's RB2 unless McCaffrey gets hurt there. Versus AJ Dillon, Damian Harris, who, even though he might be RB2. For the Patriots, I still think he has to be 50-50 split in week one. And Algieri, who, in my opinion, might be RB1 for Atlanta. So you're looking at that, and I know the Suhino has the one guy that you do not like, Trayvon Burks. Wide receiver room, in my opinion, does go to Sabatica Spartans, but it doesn't make up for the lack of running back rooms for Suhino. And I have Sabatica Spartans winning.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got Sabatica Spartans winning this one as well. These guys, rich history in the international since they've been here, 3-3 lifetime versus each other. So this is going to be the game breaker here to break that tie. James Robinson sounds like he's ready to go week one for Suhino, but it's definitely not going to be enough. I like the wide receiver group of Pittman, Adam Thielen, and Elijah Moore this year for Sabatica Spartans. And that my pick for Sabatica Spartans in the mock draft was Jalen Hurts, and he didn't disappoint. And we'll see what he can do after reports that he's improved his accuracy this year.
For sure. Next up, we have BC Lions, who is 18-22, so he's under 500, versus Euphemish, who's 63-44. And honestly, I think everybody agrees that BC Lions is one of the weaker teams. In my opinion, Tannehill as your starting quarterback is worse than Zach Wilson, Danny Dimes. Tannehill is not a quarterback who's going to throw 35, 40 touchdown passes a season. Versus going against Josh Allen. Running back room is definitely in your favor. He has Deontay Johnson as his RB3, Sonny Michel as his RB2. Right there, that's not a winning record, a pedigree to win many games this year. Running back room, I think I'm a huge fan of George Pickens for you, so I think that's your wide receiver room, I should say, is a lot better. And then Waller versus Hawkinson, again, you have the matchup win there. Even going into the flex options, back there. Flex options, you definitely have the better flex options as well. So all around, your team's just better, and I have you winning this.
Yeah, I got myself winning this one too. The benefits of getting an easy team in a weaker division this year. Oddly enough, I have a losing record to BC Lions instead. I'm 1-2 lifetime versus him, which I was shocked to see. But I think my team, again, like you touched on him, it's really going to be driven by Josh Allen and Nick Chubb. And when you have top 5 guys or top 10 guys in those critical positions, and I would lump linebacker in that group, you're going to win games. And my team just has more depth, but there is there definitely is a universe where Stan could upset this game somehow by maybe Mac Hollins getting 3 touchdowns or something like that. But I'm definitely going with myself here.
For sure. Next up, we have Fighting Geese, who's 67 and 44, going against Too Good for a Name, 44 and 35. So they're both above 500 record here. Just looking at the two teams, as much as I know I have Too Good for a Name going 0 and 13, that's my predicted. He does have Derek Hall, who I think actually might have a big year. I mean, Devonta Davis, or Devonta Adams going there, I should say. It's definitely a big win for Derek Carr. But then it's going to a running back room. Mike Davis, Melvin Gordon, Zamir White, they're all RB2s on their team. J.K. Dobbins might not play this year, but Mark Ingram might take some of those carries away. So versus Penny, Pollard, and Cook, who I think Kenneth Walker is the RB1 in Seattle. I still think they're going to try to do a 50-50 split there. And then just looking at the wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1, let's be honest, versus Deebo Samuel, who might be, some could probably argue wide receiver 5 to 10, somewhere in that range, versus Cheney and Landry and Michael Thomas and Zagres, who is wide receiver 2 for Atlanta because that team is horrible. In my opinion, it's going to come down to the tight end room, Kyle Pitts versus Hurts. And I think Pitts is definitely 10 times better than Hurts at this point, and that's where the win's going to be. And then you have, Harrison Bryant versus Njoku, who I don't think Njoku is going to be good this year. I don't say he's going to be horrible, but he's a tight end 1 versus a tight end 2 on the same exact team. So tight end 2 is going to lose a tight end 1 every time. And that is why I have Susie winning.
I like it. I think you pretty much nailed it on almost every angle. I got Susie to win this too. Obviously, my favorite to win it all. Penny early on is going to get those snaps with Walker being hurt. You and I both loved Pollard, and I think you nailed it. It comes down to the tight end room. She's got 3 really good tight ends with Hooper as well. And Njoku, they paid Cleveland paid him the big money, so he's definitely going to get involved. And I honestly think that Njoku is probably the number 2 target in the Cleveland offense this year, but I don't think that's saying much with Brissett there, obviously. But definitely Susie to win here, and I don't have always shitty as bad as you have them, but I definitely have them losing this one.
Yes. Next up, we have Young Wolf. He's new to the league versus Chris, and then No More is also new to the league. As I said in the preview, I think Young Wolf needs to if Young Wolf makes a few trades, he'll have a hell of a team, but he hasn't made those trades yet, and that's why I'm still sticking with my original pick, even though the trade by No More earlier, a few weeks ago at this point, I think it was Mike Evans. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, who the trade was. I still have him winning. I mean, the rosters are, in my opinion, pretty even. Joe Burrow versus Kyler Murray, looking at the running back room, I say Isaiah Spiller might be the RB4. I don't buy that even with Sonny Michel going there. I still think he's RB2, at least third down back versus Henderson, McKissick, and Hillard versus Darrell Williams and McKinnon. Let's be honest, all those wide receivers, all those running backs I just said, I don't want any of them. Maybe Henderson, maybe Spiller. They kind of cancel each other out, in my opinion. Oh, and J.D. McKissick, he's not too bad. I'll actually put that in there. In my opinion, though, the wide receiver room is good for both teams here. You got Devontae Adams. We just talked about Derek Carr, Alan Lazard, who is probably wide receiver 1 for the first couple games before Dobbs takes over. And the guy who I am not a huge fan of, but people seem to be a fan of, is Alec Pierce versus Shark, DJ Moore, and Marquise Brown. I like DJ Moore better and with Brown better than Adams and Lazard combined, and that is why I have No More winning this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. So I originally have Young Wolf to win this one, and the first game for both, and welcome to both owners. I think they're both great fits to the league. I think when you look at the running rooms, both running rooms, like you said, are piss poor. I think the things to watch for, and especially when you look at where the projections are at right now on Sleeper, the big one to look at too is Michael Gallup right now is in Young Wolf's lineup, and Alan Lazard is to be determined right now for week 1. So that's something to keep an eye on right now for Young Wolf. And I think if that happens, he's going to have a hard time filling those holes. He's got Josh Reynolds, but then who else does he have looking at his bench that he could put in there to fill both of those guys and their holes? So that could be a problem for him. I originally had Young Wolf. I'm going to stick with it, but I'm really scared of it now, looking at, what's been happening here as we progress through the week.
I agree. Next up, we have Adrian and the H crew, 22 and 18 versus Brian and the 12th man, 62 and 45. And I'll let you start on this one.
Yeah, so divisional matchup. Obviously, I'm going to have my eye on this one because both teams are obviously in my division. I got Adrian winning this one, and it could come down to Sunday night for both teams. What I like about Sleeper is you can actually look at each individual game and actually see which teams are playing in that individual game. It's really cool to see. And I think it's going to be cool to see for Sunday night for these particular owners. Playoff Lenny for Adrian and the Age crew, Tom Brady for Brian and the 12th man. And depending on how well Tua does in his first game and with all the weapons, that could be a big matchup there late on Sunday night. And I think it will determine what happens. And I think that playoff Lenny, all the offseason news of him being fat and what have you, I think he does well in that game and he pushes Adrian over the top to a victory in this one.
Well, we're definitely not on the same page there. I definitely have the 12th man winning here. Tom Brady playing Dallas, in my opinion, could potentially be a shootout. So that might be 4 or 5 touchdowns versus Tua playing the Patriots. Patriots always have a good defense. I'm also not sold on Tua. I think those wide receivers will help open up some running room for him. And I think if he runs more, he'll definitely be a better fantasy quarterback. But in my opinion, Tom Brady in that potential shootout is why he's going to win. Why the 12th man's going to win? Because you're looking at running back room. You got Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, Josh Jacobs, 3 starting running backs versus Fournette, Kareem Hunt, and Gainwell. Gainwell, depending on what the Eagles are doing against Detroit, could either be on the bench because they're not throwing any passes because they're winning a lot by a lot. I think the Eagles blew them out last year. Or it's a close game and they have Miles Sanders and Boston Scott just pounding the rock. And in my opinion, right there is another reason that I have the 12th man. Wide receiver room, in my opinion, is pretty even. Gabriel Davis, McLaren, Renfro, Robbie Anderson, Duvernay, and Claypool. If you match them up to where they should be matched up, it's about even. And then you have the tight end room, Knox versus Fonz. I think, whoever's going to play quarterback for Seattle, whether it is Brissett or fucking Drew Lock, is going to throw to a tight end. So to me, that's even. And Kyle Rudolph and Brevin Jordan are just both, who cares? I'll be honest with you. Like I said, I think it's going to come down to a shootout in Dallas on Sunday Night Football, and I think that is why the 12th man is going to win. Next up, we have Billsy Bob, 26 and 53. I don't even know how you're still in the league at that point. Versus Storm, who's 62 and 45. I just want to put it out there though. I had Storm going 9-0 last year, and she went 9-0. I was really high on Kristen last year. However, I am not high on Kristen this year at all. I have her going 4-9. I have her losing this week. I don't know. She should be happy that there's a couple teams this week who aren't going to get many wins because her team could potentially be one of those bottom 5 teams, not even get into the loser bracket to get the option for the first overall.
Yeah, I also got her going 4-9 this year, but oddly enough, I'm going against you on this one. I'm going with Krista to get the win, even though I do have Billsy Bob's finishing better than Krista this year. Billsy Bob's doing okay this year. And it really comes down to one major factor for me. Russell Wilson in Seattle. That Seattle team, I think, is by far the worst in the NFL. And I think that they will be picking number 1 next year. And I think Russell Wilson is going to want to prove a statement, go in there with the big contract, maybe put up 4-5 touchdowns on his own. And, I think that's going to be the major difference. The other big part of the difference I see here is going to be the tight end advantage. Dallas Goedert, I think, is going to have a big year for Philadelphia, being that safety valve for Jalen Hurts. I do like Billsy Bob's flexes better. And of course, he does have the Jamar Chase factor, but I'm going to go with Krista here with the upset because of Russell Wilson in the revenge game.
I can see Wilson put up a decent amount of points. However, she does have J.K. Dobbins currently in her lineup, and he might not even play. So, I mean, she has to move Felton into the J.K. Dobbins spot, and she has nobody else to put in Felton's spot. So, her flex, in my opinion, is just god-awful. And, yeah, I mean, Guyton, Felton, and the tight end 2 for Miami is her flex. I mean, come on. There has to be some better players out there you can put in the flex. So that's why I have her losing and going 4-9 this year. By the way, I have Billsy Bob going 9-4.
Love it.
Next up, we have Deuce Bombers and he's 59-34 versus Bare Naked Ladies, who's 42-38, which I actually thought Josh McQuinn had a few more wins. I think Josh's record recently, kind of like my record the last couple of years, is night and day versus our original records in this league. But let's be honest, we all know who's going to win this game. It's going to be Deuce Thomas. Chris gave him another great player on the damn team. And this is what happens when you sell after you go 5-0 and you have a whole bunch of picks. And, you're just going to win.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Deuce is is this the beginning of his quest for, being the favorite and, getting Mahomes also from Matt, I think is big, ad that he made. He obviously gave up the high pick to get Mahomes, but I think he's definitely way better than Dak. And the running room for Deuce is probably the best in the league. Again, you know what my concerns are with Deuce. It's the New York Jets offensive players. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. We'll have to see how the rookies do. And then, of course, Blake Martinez just getting released. That was one of his starting linebackers, and that leaves a big hole, right? I mean, we've all been there when we've had a lot of picks, and we know we get our offensive guys early, but when we have all those picks, we have the luxury of getting all the top linebackers. And Deuce clearly probably drafted Blake Martinez fairly high, and that's going to be a big hole. But, this is the start of it. And I think the big weakness here for Bare Naked Ladies is, you have Ronald Jones as one of your starting 3 at running back. That's going to be a problem all year if you don't make improvements. I got Deuce winning this one in a divisional battle.
For sure. Next up, we have Lucas and Green Lighting 55-52 versus the 6th in Milan, who's 56-51. With those numbers, I assume they're both original owners. So that's over 50-some games played right there. Was at 107. I believe the 2. And to me, this thing's going to come down to the running back room. I mean, looking at the 2 running back rooms, I actually talk about quarterbacks. Justin Herbert playing against Vegas and Rodgers playing against Minnesota. In my opinion, either one of them is a great starting quarterback for you this week. Put them in there. Don't even think about it don't even second guess it. Now, going to the running back room, and this is where I have Milan in the 6th winning this, I believe. I mean, get Milan in the 6th winning. We got Michael Carter, Damian Pierce, and Eno Benjamin versus Zeke, Gibson, and Elijah Mitchell. Even though Gibson probably wasn't going to be the starting wasn't going to be the starting running back, he is now the starting running back for the Commanders, and that gives the 6-3 starting running backs here. And I mean, what more can you say about that? And then you come looking at the wide receiver room: Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, and Tyler Boyd, who, in my opinion, they're probably the weak link of that Cincinnati wide receiver room. There's AJ Brown, T. Higgins, and Brandon Cooks are all. T. Higgins is wide receiver 1AB for Joe Burrow. So give me that wide receiver room, and then the tight end room, in my opinion, is pretty even. You have Mark Andrews and Evan Ingram versus Higbee and Tyson Hill. Granted, Mark Andrews is the best tight end in the league, But in my opinion, Evan Ingram is a bum, and he is probably going to be tight end 2 by week 4 with Dan Arnold taking over.
Yeah, I mean, mirror images, these two teams are original owners. They've been playing in the same division for 8 years, and they're only one game different in their career. I think that's pretty awesome, to be honest. There is a scenario where Lucas could win this game. I am picking Milan to win, but the scenario where Lucas could win is where Minnesota beats Green Bay. Right now the 6 has Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and Lucas has the Vikings defense. So if the Vikings somehow pulled out a good defensive effort, Lucas could end up pulling this one out. I love the fact that he got Dameon Pierce with the 4th overall pick. I think it comes down to the flex. Isaiah McKenzie's been touted as a sleeper all season long. I think he is going to be a sleeper. We'll see what he can do on Thursday, getting the 6 off to a hot start. And I think the other side of the coin is just on the defensive side of the ball, the 6 is slightly stronger, and he's going to win this matchup against Lucas. And by the way, lifetime, these guys, Lucas and the 6 is 4-5 versus Lucas. So he would love to even that matchup up with a win here.
For sure. And the game of the week, is the rematch from last year. The rematch of week 1 of last year, rematch of week 1 2 years ago. And again, we are rematching again in week 1 3 years in a row. I am 2-0 in week 1 matchups against the Architect. I have a career record of 51-56. However, since 2018, Commish, you and I have the same record. So we definitely have the same winning record. So that means, sorry, D Jackson, you ain't for real. It was a horrible team. I'll give you that one. I was selling all the time. Versus the Architect and Brandon, who was 29-24, and obviously he's the champion last year. This is the rematch of the championship game. 1 and 2, both American Division teams. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even look at the two teams. I saw that I was playing him week 1, and I think last year I beat him because the wide receiver went down at the 1 yard line instead of making it into the end zone. Brandon, you will remember, correct me if I am wrong on this. And that is why I beat him last year by like 3 points, because he didn't get the touchdown. And I am just going to go with myself again. I'm going to go 3-0 against Brandon in week 1 matchups.
Yeah, I also got yourself winning this one as well. You guys lifetime versus one another, 4-4 as well. So it definitely seems like you guys have been evenly matched since you, I guess since Brandon's been in the league. The only thing that concerns me about even both of your rosters is the amount of questionables, but there's a heck of a lot more questionables on Brandon's side. There's Waddle, there's Godwin, there's Albert O, there's London. I know there's been some positive news with some of these guys have come back to practice. But if any one or a combination of 2 of those guys are out, it's definitely going to be the win for you. I know you got to keep an eye on Zach Ertz, Miles Sanders. I know Ertz is coded as day-to-day. That's something that you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on. But I like the breakout for you with Brandon Ayuk. I think he has a big game in Chicago. And we'll see if your boner alert on Jerry Jeudy comes through on week 1 against Seattle. I just talked about Storm winning the game with Russell Wilson having a big game. And I think Jerry Jeudy and the boner alert for you has a big game there. And you win. You take this one.
Well, since you picked me to win, that means I'm losing, and I'm just going to change my pick now to me losing just because you picked me to win. You know how it goes, Commish.